Hey everyone, welcome to That Pedal Show. Viewers, comments and questions live. Dan here.
Mick here, hello.
Hope you're all friggin' fantastic. Hope all is oh, stop that, you loud angry man. There you go. Hope you're all amazing. Massive thank you to BV, of course, doing what BV does.
Thank you, BV. Hello, Rosie.
Hello, gorgeous girlie.
Yeah, welcome. Happy Monday, everyone. Come on, get on the groove train. Was that the Happy Mondays?
Les?
Was that Happy Mondays?
Let's say yes.
I know it would be a crime to get the Happy Mondays mixed up with other bands, but I do get a lot of that Manchester era stuff. Sometimes in a bit of a tizzy.
Is there a Happy Monday,
The
Depressed Tuesday?
slightly less Happy Tuesdays.
Yep. Hump Day Wednesdays?
The mercurially happy, the mercurially sated
Delirious
Wednesdays.
Fridays?
Yeah. Anyway,
And the Sunday Bloody Sundays.
yeah. Oh God! Remember Alan Partridge?
I know.
Terrible. It was
I
terrible.
think he summed up the feeling of a Sunday exactly that. Kids, you got to wash your car. Kids running out.
Yeah,
Sunday,
it's in
Sunday.
terrible taste, and we apologise. Welcome everyone to viewers' comments and questions. If you're new, what happens? We prioritise questions from the super chat. If you're not new, you'll know that already. I am about to turn the super chats off because we've got quite a lot.
Oh, okay.
Which is great, and thank you for your
Thank you, people.
for your super chai. So I'm gonna turn them off. Thanks, BV, for the reminder. I'm gonna turn them off so that we can answer everybody in full, and not skimp on the pate,
No.
to quote Mr. Creosote.
Speaking of pate, you were in the land of pate
Oh, I was.
this last week.
Yeah, I went to France with my brother. We had a lovely time. We went to visit the landing beaches of Normandy and surrounding areas. He is really interested in history, particularly World War II history, so we went and
And Mick's brother,
soaked it in.
his name's Darren. We both have brothers called Darren.
Ah, yeah.
How weird is that? And your brother also lives in Australia.
Yeah, my brother lives in Australia and he's here for a short period of time, so we did it and it was good. We had a very nice time. I want to say thank you to all the people we met in Normandy who welcomed us with open arms. We had a really great trip, actually.
Did they have little flags?
Yeah, they had the Normandy flag and the French flag. Why can't England do basic culture and food into the same standard? I mean, it's just a pleasure eating and drinking in France.
Yeah, but you're in France.
I know. It's just part of the culture, isn't it? Sorry, I appreciate that's a generalisation. Agree or disagree below. Anyway, that was a massive tangent. What have you been doing, Dan? Did you have a nice weekend?
I had a lovely weekend. There's a wonderful culinary experience the place is called Vaughan's Kitchen. They do these pop-ups. Vaughan. And my wife and I go every opportunity. It's this amazing place out near Fox Talbot. That village he was from. Very good. Stevie Ray Vaughan's Kitchen.
Yeah.
Very good.
I know the village you mean. There's a nice garden centre there.
Yes, lovely garden centre. Anyway, it's out near there.
Welcome to your middle age.
But it's this, they do these themes based around a region. And I was over there once. It was northern Spain. This was more southern Spain. Anyway, the food is all done on the farm, but they find out the spices and stuff they use, and they cook food like the traditional way that from this region would cook food. But then they tell you the story of the food and of the ingredients. And then there's a musician. His name's Andrew. I didn't catch his last name. A wonderful classical musician who plays music from the region.
Oh, wow.
And it's always the best night. I always eat and drink way too much. So Sunday was hurty. But we had a really, really lovely Saturday night. It was brilliant. I was here on Saturday during the day, doing some work. And but then back, and Saturday night was brilliant, and
Nice.
And then Sunday spent watching
Nice.
Das Boot.
Oh, you watched Das Boot?
Because Mick, I asked Mick about submarine films, and he was surprised I'd never seen Das Boot. So I went and watched the director's cut of it.
The best submarine film.
Very good. Well, there we go. So anyway,
Todd Roy is on. Hello, Todd. He says his family were from France. Generations back. Kane Hicks is on. Hello, Kane. Involuntary noises.
David Tompkins says, Mick, you missed 3 hours of Dream Theater at the O2 last night.
Oh. I was at home nailing my hand to a table instead. Actually, no, I shouldn't be so bitchy. I know that people just love that band, don't they?
Yeah.
Yeah. Satan Held is on.
Marcus Reeves is on. Evening, Mick and Dan.
Hello,
from
Marcus.
Weatherless, Kettering.
Simon VRDJ is on. Hello, Simon. Nice to hear from you.
Hey, mate.
The Tour Dad, Brian Barrett, Gordon Rankin, Richard Pribenow. Hello, Richard.
Todd Roy, Paul Schick.
David Metzler from south of Seattle. Tim Parker from Western Canada.
Oh, lovely.
Wow, that's early.
Satan Held says, why are you hitting your beloved telly so aggressively, Dan? Because tellies are made. They're made for unleashing the fury within.
When you're not playing cricket with them.
Exactly.
Thomas Collins says, happy Monday from Burgundy. Oh, I feel you. I feel you.
Where's Burgundy?
In France. It's a region in France.
It's not just a colour, it's actually a place.
It's a place, it's a colour, it's a man, it's a myth, it's a legend.
Very good.
Hello from Tacoma, says Guitar Grandpa. James Blessed and Steve Mass.
Lovely.
Lots of friends. KJ Photo, Daniel Mincher. Lots and lots and lots of friends.
Gordon Rankin,
Chris
Brian
Quinn.
Barrett. Beautiful. Oh,
Chris
how
Smith
lovely.
is on also. Hey, Chris.
Hey,
Hope
Chris.
you're doing well, buddy. I send you an email, by the way. Sorry, I haven't sent it yet. We went to see David Gilmour with Chris a couple of weeks back.
Yep. Beautiful human.
And Dustin Thiessen is on from Winnipeg.
Yes. Emilio from Cornerstone is in the chat.
Hi, Emilio. How are you?
Emilio, massive congrats on the new Paul Davids collaboration as well. It does look extraordinary. So well done, mate.
Nice.
Yeah.
Zoot Allure wants to see Rosie. Rosie here.
She mustn't be in the building or any
She's probably not in the building. Or the door's closed, one or the other.
Dimitri's Cavios says ears still ringing from Saturday's gig with a cranked JTM 45. I mean, not for the ears ringing bit, but crank that JTM 45,
I don't
baby.
know. It's good. It's good.
Oh, lovely. Lovely.
Yes, good. Excellent. Airfire Ed is on as well. So nice that so many of you can join us. Thank you. We appreciate it. It's become a truly international affair as well.
Indeed.
Good. Right. Let us dive to the Super Chat. There's no housekeeping as such tonight, or I haven't been given a sheet of information.
Okay.
So nothing to report. All quiet on the TPS front.
We'll see how long that lasts for.
You're already spoiling it.
I am. There's one thing you can rely on a person with ADHD for. Spoil that lovely moment of silence.
Matt McGrath is first in tonight. Hi, Matt. Nice to hear from you. He says, Legends, if you haven't seen the recent Benson and Electronic Audio Experiments collaboration pedal, check it out. The aesthetics alone are amazing. Seems like a great dual drive and boost option.
Oh, yes, I believe. So let me see. Let me see. I received a message. Where did that message go to?
From Benson?
No. From...
Electronic Audio Experiments.
Here we go. Yes, so it's called Halberd. There you go, check that out. It's a germanium boost on one
nice.
side. And
I really like the way Benson do their collabs. Show the people.
Yeah,
Dan.
so show the good people. Okay, check this out.
If you haven't seen it.
Really groove henge. Okay. Look at that. Isn't that great?
Very cool. Thanks for the heads up, Matt. We should get our hands on one. Non-aligned. Hello, non-aligned. Non-aligned says, do you have trouble using germanium fuzzes live? And I believe there was extra to this, if I can go back that far. Every time I use my JHS Calhoun with germanium fuzz live, the sound changes over the gig in sunlight.
Yep.
Yeah.
We have done a show specifically on this phenomenon.
You may have seen, yeah. I think we did TPS versus, or germanium fuzz versus heat, where
Versus physics.
opened up the back of a bunch of fuzzes, hit them with a hairdryer, heated them up, and just to see what would happen under the effect of heat. And yes, as you suggest, germanium fuzzes can be extremely temperature insensitive and sensitive. Sorry, sensitive. Why? Do you know why?
It's the germanium element is unstable when it's applied to heat, as opposed to silicon being much more stable.
Yeah.
And so the bias point changes and loads of stuff. And when a really interesting thing, if you're interested in that, go and have a look at the show, because it's so interesting, and especially the last fuzz we had, and we got it doing this siren thing. It was so interesting.
And the reason we did the show was because Benson had recently released this.
That's right.
Which is a pucker vintage style germanium transistor fuzz, but it has a temperature regulating circuit in it. And it's really clever how it's done. And we tried to make it overheat and failed.
Yes, it was brilliant.
So really good. Benson germanium fuzz temperature controlled. I assume it's still a current production thing. If you are addicted to the sound of germanium fuzz and you want it temperature controlled, buy that. I have my favourite sounding fuzz pedal in the world ever is this, my custom made Dan Drive Optimus machine. But I struggle to even use it in here in the summer.
Yeah.
So you can, there's enough PCs out there that are water cooled. Why not effects pedals?
Yes. That's a good question. I'll hazard an answer.
So yeah, we know all about that non-aligned. Yeah. A little tip. I just know so many people that are all about germanium fuzzes and tend not to give silicon a second look. Just turn it up. I actually prefer silicon fuzzes at high. I like the extra mids and the kind of.
Yeah.
And it's too reductive to say germanium fuzz, silicon fuzz, because obviously it's about the whole circuit and everything. But take Analog Man to narrow a lot of those variables down. And if you have sun faces that are germanium and silicon, I equally like the silicon ones. Equally.
Yeah, I'm getting into, or I should say back into, my tone benders, and more specifically the
Juju.
No. This is
Creepy
that part
fingers.
of the thing. No. The fuzzbound. Yes. And I have asked, because I've got this beautiful pig dog in the original style case, and it just sounds absolutely magic. Funnily enough, because I was having playing with Brian Love the other day, and he brought out his fuzz around. I'm like, man, it's just epic. I'm going to pull mine out, which I did. It sounds amazing, but it's really big. So I'm actually getting Steve from Pig Dog to make me a small one without any foot switch or anything, just an in and out, so I can stick it in the loop. But I'm really back into the sound of that circuit.
Nice.
Yeah. It's very cool. But the reason I mentioned that is because it's still germanium transistors, but it's a 3 transistor fuzz, and the first transistor acts like a buffer, and it is, and therefore you don't get it's not as imperative. The heat thing, it still affects it, but not to the same point, because we don't have that transistor absolutely crapping itself like you do in fuzz faces. So it's a lot less susceptible to that sort of thing. The tone bender 3 transistor style fuzz.
There we go. Lefty O-Bass. Hello, Lefty. Oh, no, sorry. You will be next. Hello, Sailor Effects Official.
Hello, Joe.
Hi, Joe.
Officially, Joe.
He says, "Hello, Leggins. Hope you're all well?" Question mark.
So well. Thank you, bud.
Affirmative. Last time I visited, I innocently asked Mick about lighting, and wow, that question sure was a rabbit hole. Thanks for the epic blues pedal show. Here's to another rabbit hole.
Thank you, buddy. Can I just say, Joe, I love your videos that you're doing. Joe does these wonderful breakdown videos, and he mods a metal zone to something you can actually use, and like really cool. And it does a really brilliant job. And yeah, so well done, mate. Keep going. They're
I'll
really
watch,
fantastic.
mate. I remain ignorant. I don't tend to watch anything on the interweb at the moment, but I will watch and offer you some feedback if you're up for it. Lefty Obase. Hi, DNM. Shameless reminiscence time. Can you remember the first track or tracks where tone was as important for enjoyment as any notes or melody being played? Moonlit Drive with Knopfler's Growling Leicester on Brothers in Arms for me.
Yeah. First one for me where I was just so bowled over by the sound was War of the Worlds, the soundtrack, Jeff Wayne's War of the Worlds, and the sound of the ooh-la guitars. And I was a kid. I remember walking up the stairs of my auntie's house and I heard the sound and it freaked me out. And then quite a few after that, but I remember Brothers in Arms when I was like 13.
Yeah, I would say Brothers in Arms is going to figure heavily for a lot of people.
Yeah, and
Certainly
I remember I'd modded a little stereo where I disconnected. I had those little boom blaster things, and I had an extra speaker in a box. So I disconnected this one speaker. I melted through the plastic. I disconnected the terminals from one speaker, and just so that I could lie down and have the speakers on either side of my head.
Oh, nice.
Right? And I remember listening to the whole of Brothers in Arms like that, and then the song Brothers in Arms, the sound of that guitar, I was like, that was big. But the very first one was Oola, who I believe is Chris Motorbiking. What's his name? Chris.
Oh, yes, Spedding.
It's Chris Spedding.
I mean, I'm going to say Stevie Ray.
Yeah.
Because I think in order to be aware of the tone, you have to be aware of guitar.
Yes.
Maybe. You would have to have some connection between the fact that this sound that you're hearing
Is saying
happens
something.
as a result of manipulating an electric guitar in a certain way.
Sure.
Now, it might be that you'd seen pictures of electric guitar or seen people on the telly playing them, but until you actually got one in your hands and realised that sound that you were making wasn't the sound that sound you were hearing, I think that would be the context that was required. But interesting, because I could equally say Quo, that's particularly the live album. For some reason I used to play that all the time when I was a kid. Status Quo, the Hammersmith live album. Highway to Hell, AC/DC, was massively important. Black Sabbath, with Paranoid. Is that called Black Sabbath, that record? Anyway, the one with Paranoid on it. But then by the time I was about 13, so they would have all been like, I don't know, 8 to 10 years old, 11 years old, something like that. By the time I was 13 and really, really into playing the guitar, that's kind of when I discovered Stevie Ray.
Right. And you're all in on Stevie.
Is that going to be about right timing-wise? I think so. And then that was it. Because I had a Strat when I was 14. I had a copy Strat when I was 13. So that would have been what it was about, I think. But the more you know and the more experience you have playing over the years, I would say to your question, tone was as important for the enjoyment as any notes or melody being played. That still happens now. And I don't necessarily want one without the other.
Completely.
Like, I wouldn't want to listen to a great tone if I didn't enjoy the playing, and I could name some artists that would piss millions of people off right now where I just can't listen to their music. But their tone is amazing. And
vice versa.
Exactly.
And vice versa.
Exactly. Yeah. So they go hand in hand these days, I think, obviously. Gaz Podmore. Hello, Gaz.
Hello, Gaz.
Always good to hear from you, buddy. He says, hello, Leggins. Thanks for the advice last week and the great show on Friday. A Marshall Bluesbreaker is making its way to me as we speak. No question this week, so please take one from the chat.
Okay. Helicopter Fart says, what is this show about? So, I don't know. There's a... I don't know. Just go through his posts.
Yeah, I don't... Yeah, let's not answer helicopter fart. But
all
you
right.
are making
But thank
us
you,
laugh.
thank you for being here, helicopter fart.
There was another question here that I saw. Oh yeah, it was for Gael Farstrat. Gael Farstrat says, or it could be Guil, but I think it's Gael Farstrat says, question: when stacking delays, do you recommend a particular order? For example, starting with darker ones into hi-fi ones. Logic tells me that. What do you think? I would do that.
Yeah. Also, yes, if you have... Okay, so here's how it works. If I have a really lovely, clean delay, and it is a shorter delay, but then I have a long echo, and that's a darker sound. If I put the shorter clean delay into the long echo, what happens is that clean delay gets warmed up by the warmer delay. By having the cleaner delay at the end, and regardless of whether you're doing short or long delays, by having the more natural sounding delay at the end, you will retain the tonal nature of the first delay. It won't be as affected as much. Swap them around, and those long echo repeats, which you will still get in the through nature of the second delay, but the actual echo of the second delay will warm up those long repeats. I mean, ultimately, you're getting into I'm not going to say nitpicky territory because it does matter, but there's not a wrong or right to it. You just need to work out which one you like best, because it also matters on the level of delay. If you've just got one that's just a little shimmery ambient thing in the background, it's less important than if you've got like an edge, two very, or like what Greg Koch was doing with one repeat as loud as the other one. And then you put that through something that warms it up, it doesn't sound quite right. So
yeah. And then there's a subsequent conversation if you're running 2 amps about parallel. So Dan's really fastidious about when he's got running 2 amps, even if it's wet dry. In this case, it would be a form of stereo where one delay only goes to 1 amp and one delay only goes to the other amp. And then what that stops is the rhythmic pattern being created between the two delays. So if you want only to hear your slapback, for example, 130 milliseconds, and that's what you want to hear, and you only want to hear it through 1 amp, create parallel lines, and your other delay might be 600 milliseconds, a much longer delay. What you don't want to hear is that 600 millisecond repeat the slap. That's what would happen if they're in series, but if you put them in parallel, it stops that. And when you explain it that way, if you've never heard it, I remember Dan explaining it to me once, going, "You're on crack, mate. That's what's the point of that?" And then when you hear it, it's a huge difference, a really huge difference. So that would be the other thing. If you are running some sort of stereo or wet dry type rig, instead of having them in series, you could try them in parallel. It's really cool.
Yep, definitely.
You were talking about parallel reverbs earlier as well.
Yeah, I'm going to want to do a show on parallel reverbs, inspired by watching some footage of Jeff Buckley's producer on how he got that reverb tone for Jeff, and it's about reverbs in parallel. And there's a few devices out there that do it really well, and also Strymon have released the new Big Sky Max that does reverbs in parallel.
Oh, does it?
And it's interesting, right? Because I thought that the Empress reverb would also do it, but it doesn't, because the Empress delay does it.
Yeah.
But the computing power it takes to do reverbs, as you know, is colossal. When you
Why would I know?
Well, okay, when you're doing stuff on in Logic or whatever, those reverb and echo chambers are the things that take up so much juice.
Yeah. I only use real canyons and
Yep.
genuine.
And mucking out sheds.
I've got an old DC-10 out parked outside, which we mic up sometimes, but
the Big Sky has enough juice to actually be able to do two in parallel. So it's a very interesting thing. But in parallel in itself is very interesting. So yeah, there we go. But parallel reverbs is a show I want to do.
Quick one from Miles Blake in the chat. He says, "Hey guys, if I ever bored with delays, mods, and reverbs in stereo, so delays, mods, reverbs in stereo, going into a UAFX Enigmatic, which is their new Dumble style amp modeler, can I still play through one amp when I want to use my amp and have it be the same as it was in mono? Just disconnect the stereo connections."
It's always the easiest thing to do. Disconnect the stereo connections and then bypass the UAD and go straight to an amp. You can sum these things. Sometimes with some pedals, especially modulation pedals that are run in stereo, they have better results internally when you don't sum the outputs. They, because of the way some of these do, they internally flip phase to give you a sense of spatial stuff. Sometimes if you just sum those outputs, you can get weirdness going on that sounds like you've killed all your wet sound. So my suggestion would be, if it's not too much of a pain, just pull the parallel side, the right side of those signal or patch cables out, and then let the pedals do the summing to mono and do what they do. Failing that, you can always just get a 2-into-1 summing mixer, stick it at the end, and and that can work great.
It's yet another reason Dan and I pretty much always choose wet dry over stereo, because if you just want to take one amp, you just plug into the wet.
Yep.
No problem.
Yep, completely.
Chris Matthews, hello Chris. He says, "Hello DNM. I was lucky enough to see Matt Schofield at Ronnie Scott's on Friday. I didn't know he was here.
Yeah.
A perfect example of your argument that volume isn't the problem, with good tone. Great gig. Please take one from the chat." I just have, Chris, so we'll take that last question as one we took from the chat.
Yeah.
I didn't know Matt was here.
No.
Is he still here?
I don't know. I did see some pictures of him set up at Ronnie Scott's, and yeah, I remember seeing Matt Schofield and telling you about it because I was so excited to hear someone play like that. He just, for me, as a blues guitar player, he was doing something very exciting.
Yeah.
And I just think
awesome.
the world of him.
Glad you enjoyed it, Chris. It's so wonderful to see and hear Matt play. He's mad. And of course, the band's not bad either. Johnny and Evan. Flipping heck. KJ Photo. Serious question here. How can anyone have a problem with the name drop horn? I love that thing. Cheers from the Big Apple. Well,
just for you.
Because everyone can have a problem with anything, and does.
I'll do it quietly. Okay. This is a parp for you. Sorry. I tried to go as quiet as I could.
I know.
I was trying.
There is a limiter on the thing, so but it still went nicely into the red.
So sorry.
Yeah. I don't know. People just moan about anything, don't they? It's where we've evolved to after 10,000 years of Homo sapien.
And here we are.
Dominance.
Yep.
G Barge. Hello, G.
Hey, G.
Thanks for the tea, mate.
Oh, yeah.
Dear Tone Shepherds, shout out to Felipe at Walt Grace Vintage in Miami.
Oh!
Who shares our enthusiasm for all things guitar, including that pedal show. Dan, I thought of you there and pictured you in the DeLorean. Miami is a wonder.
Yeah. My favourite guitar store. I was going to say new guitar store, but it's not a new guitar store because they sell old stuff. So they do sell new stuff as well. But what I loved about Walt Grace Vintage in Miami is they have this amazing collection of vintage guitars, played easily one of the best Telecasters I've ever played in my life. And then they've got vintage cars as well and vintage motorbikes. And it was just, for me, it was the best of classic American design. And it's, you look at that stuff and actually the guitars and cars together, it's like there's a line, you know, and the colours as well.
Yeah.
I was in such a happy place. And they're really, really lovely people. We've got a great cafe there. So on Saturdays, everyone's just hanging out with their cars and guitars and you know, drinking coffee. It's a real vibe.
Yeah.
It's really, really cool.
Maybe get there one day. Glad you had a good time, Greg. Michael Giliberto. Michael says, hi D&M and all in TPSdom. My question last week on my Rattler being fine on one tune but not audible on another turned out to be the fact the rest of the band was getting louder.
There you go.
Boost after drive will take care of that.
There we go.
There you go.
Bingo.
There you go. And he says, not meaning to hod super chat, but I also wanted to note that I finally got around to setting up TPS wet dry here with a couple of Dr. Z amps, one 6v6 and one EL84. Wow. I wish my band plays larger venues. Yeah. I mean, it's not so much volume with wet dry because actually it's a really effective way to get a big sound at low volume to use wet dry. But by bigger venues, if you mean more stage space, I totally get that.
Yeah.
Often you've only got 1 amp's worth of space, haven't you? You could try putting them on top of one another.
Have you seen the new collaboration with Fender and Jack White?
Yes.
Right. Now, that is a true stereo thing. And a 10-inch and a 15-inch. I really want to get one and have a play.
Let's have a play. Has it got tubes in it?
Oh, it's all, yeah, completely. But I got a message from a dear friend on the weekend saying he's got one and he's completely bowled over by it.
Oh, right.
So I'm very
How come Fender send us things like Tone Masters but don't send us something like that?
Because they're like 10 grand.
Oh, okay, fair enough.
They're not that expensive, but they're expensive.
Nice to hear from you, Michael. I'm glad you're enjoying that setup. Daniel Thornton. Hi, Daniel. He says, good morning from rainy Seattle. Thanks for doing what you do. I paired my 112 Princeton with an AC15. Magic.
Yep.
Why does this combo sound so good?
It is.
It's great.
It's a great combo.
I think one of the reasons is Princeton puts out so much blooming bottom end. So it's just this big, enveloping, lovely bottom end of loveliness.
And I agree, but there is also that thing that we have discussed about 6v6s. That, you know, it's such a great rock valve, but does beautiful cleans as well. And I think that compared with the EL84 thing, I mean, an AC15 and a Princeton, it's pure joy.
It's a great rig.
Really great.
Really great rig. Glad you're enjoying it, Daniel. Elliot Green, good morning.
Good morning, sir.
Actually, he says good evening. I don't know why I said good morning. Nice to hear from you as always, Elliot. He said, I'm finding my Morgan MVP 23 too dark recently. I don't know about speakers, but do you think changing out the G12H75 Creamback would help? And if so, do you have any recommendations?
The G12H75 is quite bright. Funnily enough, because we had a G12H65 in my Hampstead, and then we put the 75 in it, and it's definitely brighter than the 65, I find, in that amp. So if you're finding that has become too dark, it might be something else.
I think you've got a problem somewhere else.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd be very surprised if it was the speaker.
I think you've got a problem somewhere else. Try a couple different guitars if you can. Don't be afraid to really go crazy with the controls. The other thing I don't know about the MVP is if it has a cut control. And I don't wish to cast aspersions as to your knowledge of your own amplifier, but some amps that have a cut control, it can take a couple of years to figure out. It gets darker the more you turn it clockwise. I had a hilarious Vox experience almost exactly that way. I'm just having a look at a picture of one. What did we say? MVP 23. Let's have a look at the front panel.
I've never heard any of his amps sounding dark. They're rich and full, but there's plenty of top end in there.
There's a white knob which is covering up what the actual knob is, what the actual control is. It's almost as bad as that pedal shows. Oh, you know what I'm talking about. I'm sorry, I'm just trying to find another picture of the front panel so I can see what the controls are. Someone's probably saying it in the thing. Oh, come on. Right, no cut control. Yeah, the other thing, experiment with the combination of the power scaling, if it is power scaling or whether it's an attenuator, and the master volume. Sometimes if you've got the attenuator turned right down, that can significantly affect brightness. And then, boringly, it is a case of process of elimination from your guitar. Make sure that your tone pot is functioning correctly, your cable, all the boring stuff, one by one, because if that amp sounds dark, something's not right.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Don't leap straight for the speaker at this point. And as Dan said, it's not a dark sounding speaker.
No, it's not. It's really not. And the top end of it's really lovely too.
Yeah. Yeah. Good luck. Someone else may chime in. Yeah, just seeing if anyone else has chimed in. No. Good luck, Elliot. Carl Longbottom is on. Hello, Carl.
Hey, Carl.
He says, evening, gents. Sunday the 27th is the London International Guitar Show. Kempton Park, the UK's biggest one-day show. I saw Ariel the other week, and he was awesome.
Oh, fantastic.
There you go. So this coming Sunday, London, Kempton Park.
Sunday. London, Kempton Park. Guitar show. Be there.
If you're in the London area, and you can go and say hello to Carl as well. Nice.
That'd be great. We never got notified or invited or anything like that to the... I didn't even know this was happening.
What?
The London Guitar Show.
I think there's quite a lot of those one-day shows, and I think people stop asking us to go to things because we never go.
Oh, okay. Well, we did go to the Birmingham one. Loads.
I think I said yes to doing it again in March.
Okay.
If it is March. But I think not with a band, like doing a seminar or something.
Okay.
I think.
Okay.
Yeah. Anyway. Fender Jeff, 1 of 3. Thank you, Fender Jeff, for your super chai. He says, 1 of 3. Mick, my first real electric guitar was a Strat because I loved SRV and Jimmy. Me too. I played it for 10 years but struggled with it the whole time. Then I discovered Les Pauls and Tellys and the Strat went unplayed. 2 of 3 for a decade. Then I watched your Strat vlogs, pure gold. Setting up the bridge the way you do was a light bulb moment and a total game changer. Now I've got a Vintera 260s with a 6-point bridge, 7¼ inch radius board, fat 50s pickups and a Callahan bridge. I've fallen back in love with the Strat.
That'll do it.
And my earliest memories. Wouldn't have happened without you, Mick, and your wisdom.
Ah.
Thanks, Jeff. I don't know about wisdom, but it's just shared stuff that we pick up along the way, isn't it? And I've similarly been lucky to hang around with some people who really know what they're talking about and sort of pay it forward, as it were, alongside a healthy bunch of personal trial and error. Mostly error. They still drive me nuts. It's funny, when Greg Cott came in a couple of weeks ago, he's got his Reverend thing there and the Wilkinson on it works perfectly and the pickups are quiet.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I could get with this. And then I pick up my Strat and I'm like, no, I couldn't.
No.
There's something about the fight that makes it worth it. if you've
You know
grown up
what?
with it.
Yeah, that is a really interesting topic because I agree 100%. There's having a bit of this going on, and it's not fight. It's not fight. What it is this. It's interaction. They influence each other, and you know, having resistance means that you don't just go, okay, you've won £20 million in the lottery, right? And you go into a vintage. All right, it's a hypothetical. Okay, but imagine for any other people, you've won £20 million in the lottery and you go into a vintage guitar store, right? And you just go, this is amazing, and you buy everything in the place. As opposed to going into that guitar store with a very limited budget, finding the guitar that you've dreamed about your whole life, and then wondering if you can make it meet. The same thing I've done with this guitar and my SG. I have a different relationship with those guitars, and as you have... Far out, man. Come on, you. Come on.
I've invested some of my winnings in a new invention.
You might need to drop down slightly.
It's called Welly Hat.
That's amazing. Can I invest?
Yeah, I put all 20 million in, but it didn't work, so I'm back.
Well, I think it was worth the risk. It's obviously brilliant.
Can you see its advantage though? Like if you wanted to go for a walk and hop on your head the whole way round.
And who doesn't want to do that?
The market just didn't get it.
No, that's the market's fault.
Yeah, I know.
Definitely.
And it's easy on and offable as well. Look,
And I like it's called muck.
it's just it's a tolerance fit. Oh,
There you go.
What I would call an intolerance fit.
That's fantastic.
There you go.
That's fantastic. Just as well, because my analogy didn't work at all.
Oh,
But
right.
that was great.
I'd given up.
Yeah.
Somebody said I had 20 million quid in the bank. I was off to Monaco. bought one of those for Lamborghinis. Where did we get to?
I had a rubbish analogy.
Oh, okay. What was it? It was about push and pull, wasn't it?
Yeah. There's
Yeah.
about...
I think it depends. It really depends what you play as well, because it's all very easy, isn't it, to make overtures about this is good, that's good, you need pushback, you need whatever. But if you're me, right, your style involves doing things like and I don't know. What my style doesn't involve is anything remotely tricky or fast or requiring very subtle use of this
Right.
or super slinky low action because I'm doing any of that stuff, which I just can't do. So the way I play the
hang
guitar
on.
doesn't require a guitar that's easy to play. It requires a guitar that is more difficult to play.
Yeah, but there's a reason that, to use your words, that you don't play that stuff. And you say the reason you can't play that stuff, and I'll tell you why you can't play it, it's because you don't want to.
Yeah.
If you did want to, you would, but you don't, because your thing is music and
it's
making
not
it
about
groove
can
and
can't.
sing
it's about
and
what do you play? What is it that
it's
you
exactly
want the
right.
guitar to do?
And it's the reason why so many people, when they hear you play, me included, absolutely love what you do, because it is so musical. And that comes from having a relationship. It's like, okay, I'm going to give a little bit, and you're going to give a little bit, and then I'm going to push a little bit into you, and you're going to push back a little bit. So there is that relationship that happens. It's like an impedance thing.
It is. There's also quite a large psychosomatic element, which that in years past you would say you should discount, because it's all objective but no, the psychosomatic element is incredibly important.
No, completely. Do you ever think when you're playing that guitar, like 60 years ago, someone was sat with that guitar in the lap going, I'm the luckiest guy in the world having this guitar? I think about that with this guitar.
Yes and no. I think more about flipping heck, I love this guitar.
Yeah. But I feel the historic thing gives it a context in where we're custodians. You know what I mean? We're lucky enough to be holding these instruments for this brief period of time that we can, and then one day that's going to go off to someone else. But,
yeah,
I
guess so. I'm more like, screw you guys. It's my guitar. I will brutally modify it in any way I want. No, yeah, of course. It's hard not
that's
to.
funny. Yeah, completely.
It's hard not to be taking those things into consideration. Anyway, God, that was
Look, lots of people love the welly hat.
Anyone want to come in on it? Because I've just lost $20 million.
Yeah, we've got offers. Yeah, it's brilliant.
I think there might have been an international language issue as well, because they're not called welly around the world.
Oh, that's what the problem was.
So it just didn't go
No,
over.
okay.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Well, you had a go, mate. And that's the thing.
And in the Middle East too, because they don't get a lot of rain. So
they just
didn't get it.
No. Okay.
They like the style.
Yeah.
Todd Roy says Mick had some facelifting done. Yeah, it was quite effective at the old facelift.
Someone's asking how your hair is still perfect.
It's Yeah, I don't know. I spent 4 days in France without a hairdryer done. It was liberating.
Just like the D-Day.
Just like D-Day, yeah.
Brilliant.
Okay, all right, come on. Sorry, moving on. Rich Vander whatever. Interesting you have written that, Rich. I have a friend called John Vander Shoot, and he got so annoyed with trying to tell people what his name was, he just became Johnny X.
Johnny X?
Yeah.
Nice.
Because trying to...
Yes.
I guess it's from Netherlands, is it? Or at least there are many Vanders in the Netherlands. So anyway, Rich Vander whatever says, hello, Leggins. Curious to hear your thoughts on potential advantages or differences of tube boosts versus solid state boosts, such as the classic exotic EP booster, I guess you're talking about, but you might be talking about any of the other exotic boosters, of which there are many.
Okay.
Tube boost or solid state boost?
It depends on the job you're asking the boost to do. If you're using the boost at the end of the signal chain as an overall like master lift, I mean, both can be great. There's an argument to say that a solid state boost with a good, if you're, transistor or op amps with a good slew rate, that you get a quicker response. But when valves are clean and they're not pushing on the rails, their response is great. I just think of my favorite boosty boost is the Page. And I can put that anywhere and it sounds amazing. But it doesn't sound like a straight, it has a tone. You know what I mean? It's not like with a transistor boost, a solid state boost, you can get pretty much that sound and make it more or less. You know what I mean? Whereas a valve thing, you're going to get a coloration, which in guitar land we love.
It's so tough, isn't it? It's so tough because once you're given a dichotomy of this nature, you then have this, I don't know what it would be, availability, proximal bias to those two things being important. When in actual fact, everything else around it is more important. So what pedals are before it, what pedals are after it, what amp you're using, what volume you're playing at.
Yeah.
All of that stuff is critically important.
Yep.
And for one set of circumstances, you might choose one thing over another. Dan's totally right that usually with a tube you're going to get the tonal colour of the tube, but then so are you with the solid state pedal.
It just depends on the design.
One point of note, and this, everything I'm about to say is probably a generalisation, but I tend to find solid state pedals easier to get on with because there's something about input and output impedances, something about the nature of the breakup, something about the way they stack with other overdrive pedals seems to be less picky, less idiosyncratic, shall we say, than the tube overdrives and boosts that I have used to date. Important caveat, not all overdrive. Like when I use the tube driver, which is, I just love it. I love it so much. I love the sound of it. I love the look of it. I love its history. I love everything about it. But boy, is it a pain to integrate on the board for a number of practical and tonal reasons. Interesting to see 3 of these lined up on Davey G's board the other night, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And actually Yuki Hayashi came in. Dan and I spent the afternoon with him the other day, and his son Duhei, to show us something new from Free the Tone that's coming out. Yuki had been to see David Gilmour the night before. Can you imagine that feeling when you look up onto the stage and you see your flight time delays stacked up?
Yeah.
Just so wonderful. Hello Yuki and Duhei, if you watch this. And welcome home. I believe you're in Japan. Anyway, so yeah. Whereas EP Booster, still love it. Still love it at the front. Love it right at the end.
Yeah.
Just easier to deal with. So what are we saying? Colour, character, build your board around it. True love. Maybe you're looking at a tube. Utility, easy to use, small, easy to power.
Consistent. All that stuff.
Yeah. I mean, we blow hot and cold with all of this. A few months back, it was a lot of tube pedals on the board. I don't have a single one on my board at the moment.
Oh, wow.
Everything is transistor again.
Right.
And you blow hot and cold, don't you?
Yeah.
And you'll like this thing one week and that the next. Yeah. More distinctive sound.
Yes.
Fair?
I agree. And it's a generalisation, yes.
And
completely.
your example of the Page Boost is possibly the exception to the rule.
I think so.
Because it works with everything.
Yeah.
It sounds truly fantastic, either as a straight low gain, high output boost, or with plenty of gain on it. This is the Kingsley Amplifiers Page Boost.
Yep.
It is a spectacular.
We did a limited TPS run of those, didn't we? But the reason it is an outlier, that pedal, of all the tube boosts I've tried, that one had again, it was really consistent. It just sounded great no matter where you used it. But it's a seems to be a dichotomy with a lot of that valve stuff, because they are so sensitive, and powering them, can be a pain and all that stuff. Yeah, you've just got to, again, how you play, what the amps you're plugging into, where you're putting them in your chain, how you're using them.
Again, what's interesting about it is there's also, we get asked this a lot, and we have been asked it a lot, and it comes up in comments, where someone would say, oh my God, you've got like a $5,000 tube amp. Why would you put a solid state boost in front of it? You've just completely negated your tube amp. Just false. Just false. Fake news.
Thank you for playing.
Tube boost or tube or solid state boost. Yeah, use either. And this is purely for me and Dan. Tube amp or solid state amp, no question.
No question.
Not even, not to say that there's anything wrong with solid state amps, and we know lots of you love them. We really don't. So if it's tube or solid state pedal,
What's it doing?
they'll both they'll both work,
Yeah.
and we both make them work, and we like them equally in different situations.
Yeah.
Tube or solid state amp?
Yeah.
No game.
Admar Herman says, I use a Blackstar Department 10 tube boost as a tone shaper for my bass. That is a killer
Yeah.
boost.
Yeah, I would say if you can't get your hands on a Kingsley
Yeah.
because the wait list is long,
Get one of them.
that is a great shout.
Yep.
Yeah,
Brilliant.
for those of you who didn't get that, Blackstar Department 10 boost, we like that a lot.
Really, really liked it.
It's white, I think, if I remember correctly. this one.
They have a history now of designing some really cool pedals, Blackstar. Like even from the early days when they had a tube overdrive that was impossible to power and stuff, but it sounded really great.
Yeah.
But they really do make some nice pedals, Blackstar.
I'm just seeing if I'm sure it was up here.
It's across the road
Oh, is it?
because we used it in a build and it stayed over there.
We do have this habit of giving things away as well in our patron giveaways. Stuff we really like. Oh, this is great. We should give it away in a patron giveaway. And then like, where's that gone then?
Do you use your thumb over the neck?
All the time.
You do.
Absolutely all the time.
Okay, that's hard.
Especially playing any of that. You know.
Okay. Do you ever use it on the fourth string?
Who does that?
Some people do. Silly people. We call them silly people.
No.
Dude, I'll put this back together. Just play this for 2 seconds. I'll swap you. Have a feel of that. So, I got the old saddle pieces back on, original pickups in, just put it straight back in the way I bought it. It was like, now I remember why I bought it. Isn't that great? You know what's made all the difference on that guitar? Our new strings. So Mick and I have started using Stringjoy strings, and we have them on the site, or we'll do soon.
We haven't been delivered yet.
But
We only ordered them last week.
yeah. But I put them on that. It's like, there it is. And that's 11 to 52s on there.
Oh, it's so hard. It's great. It's such a great guitar.
Isn't that great?
It's vibey.
Yeah, it really is. So I've come up with this new thing. Well, it's not new. I've told myself to do this for a long time. But I will adhere to this from now on. I'm never going to buy a guitar on its potential. On oh, this would be really good if I got the pickup sorted out, or if I got, you know, if I ever buy another instrument.
Exhibit A.
There you go. Well, okay, yes, that destroys my argument. The difference with that guitar is that what was going on with that pickup set was a known quantity, you know, and it sounded great already with those pickups in it. But taking the chokes and stuff out is just change that thing. Yeah.
Yes.
Amazing.
Yeah,
Amazing.
yeah. No, I kind of agree. I kind of agree. I think if you know, I mean, there's things you know about a guitar. Quite a lot. Sometimes, hopefully, you guys relate to this. That you're like, I think this guitar could be better, but I'm not quite sure how. Stop.
Okay, that's a better way to put it.
This guitar can definitely be better, and I know exactly how. Keep going.
Yeah, great.
Yeah. Sorry, we're G says, is Matt Schofield a Stringjoy guy now too? What happened to Kurt Mangan? I didn't know that Matt. I thought Matt has been Kurt Mangan forever, but I don't know. We changed. I guess it's always good to try new things. I was going through this thing where I wanted to try some lighter strings because I'm liking the snap and the kind of... and this predominantly on the bass strings more than the high strings. So I can't go... I've tried to go down to a 10 on the top string, but I just can't because I just can't get the power out of it. So 10.5 is as small as I can go on a top string. But the bass... As you get the thicker down the neck, what I was hearing from my particular style of playing was a lot of fundamental in the note and a lot of kind of less subtlety, more like thwack. And I just wanted more subtlety and the guitar to ring a bit more. Just, I don't know, getting a bit older, changing playing style, thinking differently about the guitar. So I just started to try some different strings and ended up trying some Stringjoys. And I was like, man, I really like these strings.
Yeah.
They feel different from the Mangans, and it's not. Please understand that it's not a better or worse thing. It's just
Mangans are fantastic strings. Use them for so long. They've been brilliant, really consistent, great strings.
And you get used to a thing, and then all of a sudden this new thing leads you off in a different direction. So it's more about that. And we both really like the Stringjoys. I mean, as a very basic reduction, perhaps a tiny bit brighter sounding, certainly a bit tougher feeling. The Mangans at times almost felt like a gauge down. They were so smooth and silky to play, which is a lovely thing. But the Stringjoys just seem to have a little more, I don't know if tension is the right word, but a tiny bit more fight, a little bit more feel on the wound strings for sure. And I think just a touch more brightness on the wound strings, especially as I've gone down a couple of thou on my lowest strings. And I'm personally preferring that right now at this point.
Yeah, nice.
It always changes, right? But they're very nice and they'll be in the store soon. So you can buy them. Yeah. So that's why. Sorry. Back to the old Super Chai. We've got 3 more to go. Gaz Williams. Hello, Gaz. Great to hear from you, buddy. He says, hey guys, I know there is no better or worse, only more to our taste. Exactly that. Exactly what we just said about strings. One slightly comedic fact about the strings. After I'd sent off the email to Stringjoy saying these are the gauges, Mayer releases his signature John Mayer Slinkies, and they're like 1 away from my set.
But yours is one better.
Everyone's going to think I've copied him. Everyone's going to think I've copied him. Anyway. So Gaz says, Mick, you had the Delverb on a board recently. How would you compare this to the Collider? So we're talking about the Universal Audio Delverb and the Source Audio Collider. And if pushed for one for yourself, which would you choose and why? I would choose the Collider because it has more extensive control over the reverb side specifically. Let me see if I can find one here. They may be both. They may be both across the way. We've got 2. Anyway, so the Delverb was there. I have neither pedal to hand. So, both sound great. Both really like the sound of both. I took the Delverb out because it was... I was doing some gigs that required a very small board, and the thing I love about the Delverb is that it's small, it does reverb and delay, and it has top-mounted jacks. Makes sense. Downside, the way the foot switches are set up, you can have on-off for delay and reverb, or you can have on-off for the whole pedal and tap tempo. So if you want to use delay and not reverb, you have to bend down and turn the reverb down, which I opted for because I'd rather have tap tempo than be able to switch the reverb on and off. So I'd keep the reverb at sort of, that level, 9 o'clock-ish, and then turn it up if I wanted more. Easy peasy. In the Collider, you can do all that off the top 2 foot switches. You can turn the delay and the reverb on and off, and you can have tap tempo. Now, it might be that you can program the Delverb to do that, but that's already too much information for me if I've got to get into apps and stuff. Collider, you can do it all off the top panel. In addition, Collider also has more algorithms per delay and per reverb, and something about that user interface, the way it's got the 3-position switch.
It's so good.
You flick it one way and the knobs change the delay presets. You flick it the other way and they change the reverb settings. Sorry, settings, not presets. So you can get on-the-fly adjustments, plus the way the presets are set up, you can have probably 8, but I only ever use 4, straight off the top panel there, presets of reverb and delay, which you can't do in the Delverb. So you can do it via MIDI in the Delverb, but again, TLDR.
Everyone's saying that May has copied you.
Yeah.
And G Barge has just gone, May has just been seen with a green welly on his head.
I'm going to call that Fleuron.
I like it. I like it.
Bless you, John Mayer. I do love you. I do love you. I do. I really do. I really do.
John Mayer should throw everyone for a loop and come on our show.
That would be good.
That would be great.
There must be a new album imminent, I would have thought, isn't there?
Yeah.
So yeah, I would say in ultimate usability, in programmability, in the available parameters off the top panel, in terms of the editability off the top panel, ease of use, I'd go Collider all the time. The reason it didn't go on my board when I was out is because it's got side-mounted jacks, which make the damn thing like another too much wideness.
1.5 foot.
Way too wide to get on the tiny board that I had to take. And I didn't, on the particular gigs I was using it on, I didn't need all those extra sounds. I just needed a basic quarter note delay and a roomy type reverb. That's all I needed. All I wanted. So yeah, as an all-rounder, Collider every day of the week. And the audio, I would say, in the Collider is exceptional.
Oh, it's
Beautiful analog drive-through.
Yeah.
And just the sound of the thing is great.
Can I just say, I'm so proud of Source Audio for doing this, because we bang on a lot about analog drive-through, right? Actually, I'm going to call Boris as well. And the Collider comes out. It's got, because the first was it the Nemesis? The first Nemesis came out.
Wasn't it the Ventris dual reverb?
No, Ventris
the
dual
delay
reverb.
had
No,
it.
the delay. No, delay didn't have it.
The delay didn't have it, and the
delay
reverb
didn't have
did.
it. The delay comes out, and I've known those guys for a while, and it said, "This looks amazing." Oh, tell me it's got analog drive-through. Oh no, we didn't have it in this one. And I was like, ah. And then the Collider comes out, and it's got it, and it's like sounds so good. And then they re-released the Nemesis, and check it out.
With analog drive-through, yeah, they so they did.
Bottom corner here, you'll see where it says ADT, analog drive-through. And then also our friends at Walrus Audio with their Mako series
Have they?
have re-released the Mako series, and the delay and reverb have analog drive-through.
Oh, I didn't. I looked in. I read the whole product page, and I couldn't see it
And
mentioned
I couldn't
anywhere.
see it either. And I emailed what's his name?
Colt.
Colt. I emailed Colt. I said, Colt. What's going on? Tell me that of all the things you upgraded, this has got analog drive-through. Because when he came in,
Yeah.
I said, tell me it's got, he said, it doesn't. And I'm like, the new Walrus Audio delay and reverb has analog drive-through. That pedal could be a real
That's a
contender.
contender now, yeah.
Real contender.
People,
I loved the algorithms.
Let's have the argument briefly about analog drive-through. Goes something like this. Me and Dan say analog drive-through is really important for two reasons. One, you have to have it if you're going to use a wet-dry rig and some of your effects are going to one amp and not the other. If you don't have analog drive-through, you've got latency on one amp, they can never be in phase, doesn't work. Two, much more tweaky this one, you can feel it. You can feel latency. Now, you can't feel, it's very hard to feel 2 milliseconds of latency. Some people can, very hard. But once you stack a bunch of non-analog drive-through stuff together, we're going to discuss this on Friday in our wireless show.
Extravaganza, I think you might find it better be described as.
Let's say you use a wireless, a helix, a non-analog drive-through reverb, your in-ears are on wireless, etc., etc. You could be 12, 14 milliseconds of latency.
Yep.
Easy peasy. And boy, can you hear that.
Yep.
And feel it.
My flanger's got lower latency than that.
Basically impossible for me and him to play.
Yep.
And also anybody else who's used to not having it. So of itself, in one pedal, maybe not a big issue. Once you start stacking it up.
Yeah.
9 Danke,
Yeah.
as they say in Germany.
There's an amazing story. So we have our good friend Churd. I find it hard to say that word because I love the man, but everyone calls him Churd, so I'm going to jump on that bandwagon. Richard, but he works with everyone, but especially the boys from Biffy Clyro, and it's Churd. So he was telling us this story that Bono, so the guys in U2, they've all got their own monitor mixes, but Bono really struggles with latency. So he has his wireless microphone, which is a UHF wireless microphone, so ultra high radio frequency, no latency, going to an analog desk to UHF in-ears, so he has no latency when he sings. It's real, people. I'm telling you, it is real.
Yeah. Paulie's Guitars and Gear says, is true bypass the same as analog drive-through? No.
So it's not. True bypass is the state of the signal when the pedal is bypassed. So lots of pedals that don't have analog drive-through have true bypass, the H9 being an example. Analog drive-through, what that means is, let's have a look at a delay pedal. Turn the delay on. Your guitar signal goes in. In an analog drive-through, what happens is your signal goes into the circuit. It is split, still analog. One side gets digitized, and that is the wet effect, the delay effect. The effect is created, and then it is mixed back in on top of the analog signal, and then that mix is sent to the output. So if you turn the mix, the wet signal, all the way down, there's no there's no delay, but there's no latency because you don't have any of your signal going through any AD converters. It is analog. It is mixed back in analog fashion, the wet signal is mixed back in an analog fashion on top of the analog signal. In a pedal that doesn't have an analog drive-through, your guitar signal goes in, and at the input of the effect, it goes through an analog to digital converter. From there, it's manipulated and it does all the cleverness. And then at the end of that, it goes from digital to analog converter and then out. In that scenario, the entire signal, including the direct signal of the guitar, is converted into digital, is converted into ones and zeros. Now that signal, with no analog drive-through, the process of converting the signal from analog to digital, there's a processing time to do that. And that's where we have our latency. Now you can have that signal, but put it in a true bypass circuit. So when you bypass that signal, you've bypassed around the outside of that signal, it's all fine. But as soon as you turn the delay on, you get this latency. And funnily enough, that is part of the sometimes with those pedals, when you turn it on and you'll hear a click or a pop or whatever, it is the latency, the gap between your direct signal going in and then being converted and stuff. So yes, I hope that explains it.
Did you explain true bypass?
An impassioned plea. Yes, I did.
Yeah. So not the same thing. Because you can have any combination of the two.
Yeah.
Correct. You can have non-true bypass pedals that are not analog drive-through.
Yep.
And you can have true bypass pedals that are analog drive-through.
Yep.
And you can have true bypass pedals that are not analog drive-through.
Yep.
Etc. Yeah.
So for example, a Boss delay pedal has analog drive-through, but is not true bypass. It uses a very clever array of transistors to do the switching, so it's silent switching, but the buffer in the Boss pedal is on all the time, whether it's engaging the effect or not. You're always going through that Boss buffer. In a true bypass circuit, it completely disengages all of that.
But in the Boss pedal, the buffer is analog, so there's no latency. It's got nothing to do with AD conversion.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Good, and good again, and good.
G-Bar says, best description ever. I have an attitude against latency. Thank you, G. And look, it's not a... It's not an attitude thing. It's a thing that we have discovered out of necessity. It's like, why does this work for me and why doesn't this work for me? Oh, okay. There's this strange phasing relationship happening when I combine these two, and it just sounds like arse. And the only way to do it properly...
And I'm not building faces, hither and yon.
Hither and yon. But we worked out the way to do it properly is to not always have your drive-through signal analog. It's not hard.
It's not hard, Mark.
It's not hard, Mark.
Spell AC/DC. Oh, D's. No, Mark. It's not hard.
Thank you, G. Thank you.
Gaz, I hope the del verb and collider explanation was adequate as well. I didn't finish that off. Sandman 757. Actually, that's Sandman, isn't it? Sandman 757 says, when combining power output jacks, so we're talking about power supplies, do the jacks need to have the same exact stats? Say a pedal requires 18 volts at 250 milliamps.
Yep.
Power supply out 1 is 9 volt, 100 milliamps, and out 2 is 9 volt, 500 milliamps. Can I combine 1 and 2?
No.
Oh, really?
No.
Wow.
Okay, let me clarify this. If you are hoping to power a pedal that is 18 volts at like 20 milliamps, then you could be all right.
Oh, I see, because we're 9
But
volt.
as soon as one side starts to draw more than the other, you're going to run into problems. It's just not worth it. If you want to use two power supplies in parallel, well, there's two things. There's series, which will double the voltage, and there's parallel, which will double the current. If you are looking to take two outputs and double the voltage, what happens is you've got the positive and negative on one side, positive and negative on the other. If you're doubling the voltage, the positive from one side will go into the negative on the other, and then you've got what's remaining is the positive and negative, and that will double the voltage. But if you're drawing current on that and it doesn't draw current equally on other sides, you're going to run into problems. Same being said for parallel. If we join the negative together and the positive together, well, that will combine the current draw from both. But if what you've got is a pedal that takes, so if you've got 500 milliamps and 100 milliamps, and you've got a pedal that takes 600 milliamps, it's not going to work because you're trying to pull too much from the 100 milliamp side. However, if you had two 9 volts that were both 300 milliamps, and this is in theory, by the way, because this doesn't actually work in practice, you'd need more than 300 milliamps to do a 600 milliamp pedal in parallel. But in theory, if you had two 300 milliamp 9 volt supplies and you join them in parallel, that would give you the 600 milliamps that you need. But it is best practice, if you're ever going to do anything like that, that both sides need to be identical. Otherwise, you can run into issues.
I did not know that. Yeah. I did not know that. There you go. Hopefully that answered that fully. Yes, they need to be the same. Because for those of you who might not be aware, you can, on some power supplies, combine outputs using the correct combining lead in order to give more voltage and current to pedals that need it. You don't just have to use one output, one pedal. As long as you've got the correct lead and the manual says you can do it,
yeah,
you can do it.
And those supplies that say that you can do that, they're set up so that they are as close to identical as possible. As close to identical that's not going to give you any issues when you're running them like that, when you're running them in parallel or in series. To either double the voltage, which is the potential, or double the current, which is the power. The thing that does the work is the current. Yeah. This is so nerdy. It's a really easy way to remember the difference between current and voltage. You measure current across a device.
I want current.
Sorry, you measure voltage across a device. You measure current through the device.
Wow.
So you think you've got a resistor, you can measure the current that goes through the resistor, but like the circuit, you measure the current across the 0 volts. So yeah, that's...
I always think I want currents in my pastries, but not voltage.
I couldn't agree more. I couldn't agree more.
Gary Gallagher says, how years, lads? Always having your dry through analog is great, but does Mick ever feel the buffer that is used to help split the signal? Yes, I do.
He does.
I used to be apoplectically mad about it because I at that point didn't really understand the benefit of what buffers can really help with, and that's informed certainly my approach to live sound and the way I play over the years to the point now where I actually use buffers in certain places for the particular tonal effect they give.
Yeah.
Dan made a significant upgrade to some of his products last year before, which completely changes the way that signals are split now. So in the latest Humdingers, in the latest G3s, it's undetectable which output you're using.
Yeah.
In something like a wet dry guitar rig, one side's using a bunch of pedals and somehow have the buffer sound and some don't. So once you get to that, I'm less worried about it. It used to annoy me intensely. These days, not so much, because I kind of know how to deal with it and I know what's...
And you've got enough experience now to say, okay, I want to have it on this sound, but I know it's not going to work with this thing.
Yeah. Yeah. And also just a bit of self-temperance of trying to stay worried about the right things. In fact, not worrying about anything, but if you're going to give your brain power to something, it really ought to be what you're trying to say playing wise. Now, in the run up to putting your rig together and putting your stuff together, sure, concentrate on that, but once it's there and set, just stop worrying about it. I've got over so many things in life in general of just going, it is what it is now, let's just try and communicate something, be it speech, writing or music. I know it sounds very heady, but part of growing up maybe. On the subject of which, Architects May says, I've just discovered the power of now, and it's having a huge impact on my life. The penny dropped, and it's a beautiful revelation on how to cope. Mick had highlighted this so many times. Thanks, Mick.
Yeah.
I'm pleased to hear that. I'm pleased to hear that something is changing the way, it's a change of perspective, isn't it? I think I've said this a lot. I think he's the top of the tree.
Yeah.
Eckhart. I do. Helicopter Fart says, I heard a dog. You did. That was Rosie. And Simon V. RDJ, was that thunder and Rosie giving the thunder a telling off? Yes, it was. I don't know if it was thunder or a bit of farm machinery, but that was exactly what was happening, yeah. And final super chat tonight comes from Simon V. RDJ. With Christmas around the corner.
Oh, Christmas.
Soon be Christmas.
No, I won't do that one.
I remember waking up on New Year's Day. We always take the Christmas decks down the day before.
Santa Claus. Yeah.
Or usually maybe even New Year's Eve. And waking up on New Year's Day and saying to Catherine, soon be Christmas. And that feels like yesterday.
Yeah.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
Getting older is mad how fast time goes.
I can remember our drummer Doug. Every year at Christmas, he would send me a picture of him going into his loft to pull the Christmas tree out. And I must have 12 pictures of him every year going to the loft. And it just got to a point where it was like, oh, my knees can't do this anymore.
John O'Neill says, what gauges of string joy will you be stocking? We've chosen some custom gauges which may well exist in existing sets. Dan has chosen the same gauges as his Mangan set. Mine are ever so slightly lighter, so 10.5, 13.5, 17, 26, 36, 48. So just a tiny bit lighter.
Very good.
From the G string down. From the D string down.
Yeah. I was thinking about going to maybe 52 to 51, but I really like the 52.
Yeah.
I think my favourite jazz guitar tone is Pat Martino. And those thick, heavy strings are a big
essential
part of his sound.
Well, presumably did he use round wounds as well, or?
I'm not
Flats?
sure. I'm not sure. But neck pickup on this, I can get, jazzy tones, roll this back a little bit, it's great. But those thicker are part of it.
Mm. Yeah. So Simon, the RDJ, last question tonight. With Christmas around the corner, what are the things that you would buy? And there are two caveats here. One is money, no object. And one is with a budget of under £200.
Okay.
So, money, no object. Buying yourself a nice Christmas prezi. Presumably guitar related, shall we say.
Okay.
Because I had my eye on a nice bottle of Gevry Chambertin, but I think we'll go with guitars.
Okay. I think if money with no object.
I mean, money, no object, money, some object. Let's do that.
Yeah, okay.
So money, no object. I know exactly what I would buy.
I would. So money, no object, but a slight amount of reality.
Money, no object. I'd buy a burst and a dumble.
Yeah. So I was going to say a dumble. But with, who makes those amazing Dumble-esque amplifiers?
Overdrive Nation.
Overdrive Nation. I played one of those and I was like, this thing is flipping amazing. However, I also, when I was in the States, I also played a 2-rock
Bloomfield.
The Bloomfield. Oh man, that thing. So that would be my money no object thing.
In a sort of sensible
in a
world.
sensible world, because
Yeah.
who wouldn't want to burst on a dumble?
Money no object in the sensible world. I really want a Gibson ES330 from 6061.
Yeah, okay, that's nice.
There is a place that has one for sale at the moment. I do not have any money, so that's what I would. That's that and a half decent telly. I'm done.
Okay.
For
I'm not allowing myself to look at any more guitars, only because with this and the SG that I've got that I love, it's like, this is so silly now. It is so silly.
Exactly. The 345, the 61 Strat, and this Les Paul.
Yeah, for sure. Now the $200 mark.
Yeah, that's more interesting, isn't it?
$200 mark. I am.
Much more
The
interesting.
things that I'm working on with my playing, I'm really digging the. I've already got a set of Wazza headphones, right? And I think they're getting up in the morning and practicing along to YouTube clips and everything. I think it's remarkable. Boss have now got this new thing that I'm trying out, which basically interfaces into YouTube. We can slow things down and reverse things, and I think that's awesome.
What? Just why wouldn't you just play without anything?
Because I need to work on my time. And playing along to things.
No, I mean guitar-wise. Why not just have the guitar unplugged if volume is an issue?
Because the guitar reacts so differently to gain stages and whatever. If I play acoustically a lot, my electric playing really suffers.
Right.
Because what happens if I play like this and it's all beautiful, but as soon as I go into an amplifier that gives me feedback, it's like I just sound like a turd. Because so as much as I love this and I play like this all the time, I have to have a plugged-in experience.
Oh wow, I'm the opposite. If I play quietly into like a little amp that sounds big and fat and all the rest of it, I find that kills my loud playing.
Okay.
But just playing the guitar on its own works for me.
Okay.
That's fascinating.
Yeah.
That is fascinating. Wow. Sorry, so you were saying this new Boss thing?
Yeah, that I really love playing along to YouTube clips.
Yeah.
And this lets you. I find that I stop and I go into then I've got to try and track it back on my phone. It's a massive pain in the bum. But this Boss thing allows you to just rewind it and slow it down and stuff, and it just keeps the flow. Because I really love practicing. I love playing.
Yeah.
And I find that I love playing along to stuff. And that just is a cool thing. So I think for 200 quid for me, as a, looking for a practicing thing, because I've already got the Wazza Air headphones, which are probably more than 200 quid now. That's a really groovy device.
So you go for that. 200 quid. I mean, it'd be bonkers to buy a pedal because, as bad as it sounds, we own all the pedals, pretty much. There's nothing pedal-wise that I would necessarily want at this stage. Did buy a pedal for just slightly over 200 pedals, 200
Oh, camera's
pounds.
dead.
Oh, I know why that is. Didn't plug it into the mains, did I?
Didn't plug it into the mains.
You can
Thank you,
still hear
BV.
us.
You still hear us.
How long's the camera been dead?
Can't be long. BV's just messaged. There we go. There we go. No, still loads of people listening to us in the dark. In the dark. Paint it black.
The revolution will not
For 200 quid, we'd buy power supply for the camera. That's what we get.
Or you could just remember to plug it in.
Yeah, there's loads of stuff. You get some. There we go. You get some really fun things for 200 quid.
Sorry, everyone. That's a very unusual lapse of I forgot to plug the power supply in, so it's just been running on the battery. Sorry.
That's an impressive battery life.
Very terrible. 200 quid, that's tough. That is tough. Yeah, sorry, what I was saying was I did buy a pedal just recently, which was the Marshall Blues Breaker, the original Blues Breaker, Korean one, which was a little bit over 200, but not too much.
Now what
That'd be quite good. Hand wide tube screamer I still haven't bought, and I keep meaning to buy one of those.
Yep. I'd probably take my SG to Monty and get him to set it up.
There you
for
go.
200 quid. That's what I do.
There you go. That's a really good shout.
Yep.
New pickups for the Jazzmaster.
Yeah.
That's next on the list,
Come on.
because the standard pickups sound pretty bad in it, so that would work. Yeah. Thank you for the question. God, not hard to spend money, is it?
No, that is the truth.
It is not hard to spend money.
Yep.
Good. Thank you for being with us, everyone. We'll dive into the main chat for a few moments and see what's going on. Frankie Holt wants a satin Sunburst 335. That would be a nice thing. They did do, but well, you know, because you want one. They did do a bunch of satin ones. Interesting on that. If you polish them, they do go a bit glossier. If you want it to go a bit glossier, but the actual finish itself isn't quite as nice. Leyland Berg says, I played a 60 ES330 and it was wonderful. Yeah, me too. Travis Doyle wants my 2001 Stingray back with stunning bird's eye maple neck that I foolishly traded to Guitar Centre 15 years ago.
We've all got those horror stories, mate.
In my band when I was a kid, bass player Paul, who's a great friend of mine, still a great friend of mine, he was into Music Man. He had a Sunburst Stingray with a similarly flamed maple neck. It was great. We used to marvel what San Luis Obispo might be like because it says it on the back of that headstock, I think.
The bass, the Stingray bass.
Yeah.
They have a sound, man.
Yeah.
They really have that.
Active.
Yeah.
Or his was, anyway. Todd Roy wants a custom shop Relic 61 Strat. Nice. I still look at Strats. It's mad, isn't it?
Yeah, I still look at tellies. And I feel red just looking at me going, what do you think you're doing?
Yeah. Gabrielle Vassallo wants to know, are they reading questions from this chat or am I supposed to send them elsewhere? We prioritise the super chats, Gabrielle, but if you have a chat question, please ask it. Danielle Williams wants a 1980s Explorer in white with EMGs. Get in. Wonder which band. Would that be Metallica? Sorry if I'm being dumb.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Something like that.
Yeah. Blues Breaker 2 on the way for only 50 quid. What could go wrong, says Ian Jeffrey. Awesome. Chris Hanline wants to know, Dan, or Hanline, sorry Chris if we're saying that wrong. He says, Dan, I watched the 2023 Roundup vid recently. Did you ever get a Dr. Z? Still on the hunt for it?
Still don't have a Dr. Z. Still haven't tried a Dr. Z. Really, really want to play a Dr. Z. What would actually be interested to know, tell me your favourite Dr. Z amplifiers. People out there who are Dr. Z aficionados, if I could only try one Dr. Z amplifier, which one should I try? Because there are so many now. I'd love to go, okay, that's the Z sound.
Yeah. David Burke wants a Murphy painted, non-aged Sunburst Les Paul. Oh, the camera's gone off again. Sorry about the camera, everyone. It obviously can't maintain enough charge and put out a signal. Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. So perhaps we should just say cheerio, Daniel.
That's a lovely way to call it a day, Michael. There we go.
Yes, sorry everyone. Not very often I make calamitous technical errors, but that was one. Okay, thanks for being with us. Fade to black, says Patrick Glantz. Yeah, we'll see you Friday. Friday's show's about wireless. And it's blooming interesting.
It's really
So much stuff I had
it's-
literally no idea
and it's
about.
really fun.
Yeah.
It's a really fun show.
So we'll see you then. Thanks for the super chats tonight. Thanks for being with us. I hope everyone has a great week. And
Indeed.
yeah, we'll see you Friday. Rock us out, Dan.
My favourite intro after.
Don't play any AC/DC.
No, how about. Okay. Let me try it.
See you, everyone.